Welcome to the Flourish frequency, the show where we activate and amplify the frequencies of success, joy, and abundance. I'm your host, Beth Larsen, a high-performance and quantum success coach. If you're ready to ditch the hard hustle and embrace a more effortless flow, then this is the show for you. Together, we'll tap into quantum thinking, harness the laws of the universe, and unlock the secrets to living a life of more. More joy, more energy, more passion, more money, and more meaning. No more simply surviving, we're going beyond thriving. It's time to flourish. The Flourish Frequency Show starts now. Hi, welcome back to the Flourish Frequency. Like I said, this is where we elevate your energy, ignite your passion, and help you live your most abundant life. I am Beth Larsen, your host, and with me today, again, is the beautiful and wonderful, fabulous Dr. Pat. And today we're going to be diving into the transformative power of gratitude, sharing some impactful practices specific to gratitude to help you bring more joy and abundance into your life. And somebody I am very grateful for is Dr. Pat. So I'm thrilled that you're here today with me on this topic. How do you feel about it?
I have to tell you, gratitude is a game changer. I know the word is thrown around a lot, but I think today that what we're going to talk about is really life-changing. Because if you can really look at what you're calling here, and I love the title of the episode, I love the gratitude effect. I love that. And because there is an effect that happens if you can practice gratitude. So what do we even mean by practice gratitude? So let's get into this, because I don't know that you can flourish without gratitude. I don't know.
I 100% would be saying, no, I don't think you can. It is, you said it's a game changer. I think it's the secret sauce, for all of it, for the flourishing frequency, because without gratitude, it's an amplifier. It amplifies the frequency. And so, I would say, no, I think you have to have gratitude. I think it's the whole reason why I've been able to actually feel as though I'm flourishing because of that gratitude.
Yeah. I mean, the other part of this, though, too, if we could talk about it for a minute, is the idea that my friend said this to me. I don't have a fact checker. But my friend said to me, Pat, did you know this is a quote, every indigenous group, tribe, community, or culture has a deeply embedded gratitude attitude.
Oh, I love that.
And I said, well, he said to me, when you go back to their origins, when you go back, there are rituals, some of them you're not going to like, but there are rituals where gratitude and offering, look, I went to visit Hawaii a lot. And I have friends there and I understood the culture, but I'm telling you what I learned about the gratitude, especially to Madame Pele. I have learned not to cross Pele.
Yeah.
I have learned that. But this is what we're talking about today, right? Because this you're talking about the effect.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what you're grateful for grows, and what you appreciate appreciates. And I think that's, it's not just a cliche. It's so true. Whatever you're going to be grateful for, even in the things that sometimes don't look like what people would actually think they'd be grateful for. It's like your ability to find the things to be grateful for, and even in the toughest of circumstances, is what actually allows you to alchemize those circumstances, to actually get the gold out of the lead, and to turn things around. Truly, I mean, at least that's been my experience. So yeah.
The other thing, Beth, let's talk about this for a minute. There's something, tell me if I'm off on this. There's something about this time of year, but there seems to be something about this time of year, really. I mean, I'm even finding myself wanting to put up holiday decorations, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know where you live, but here they started selling trees a week ago.
Yeah.
But this is a great time to talk about gratitude, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. I mean, it seemed like the fitting topic for this month because, it is Thanksgiving in 1 week, and it's the time of year where, we really make a whole holiday around being grateful. And yet at the same time, I want this conversation to be about how do you make this your practice year round? How do we not just do it during the holidays? But the holiday spirit, I think, kicks in and it really brings it out. So it's the perfect time to really like get in there and talk about it. And how do we make gratitude not just about being thankful or polite, but really deepening it so that the amplitude of the frequency gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's the effect. That is the effect. You get to have whatever you're grateful for will absolutely grow and it will get larger in your life. So being able to deepen the practice and not just keep it on a surface level, I think is really important. So
there is so much that we really want to tap into with this episode, because we're not just talking about gratitude. When you add the word effect, the researcher that I am, as a matter of fact, I was just looking at some research that I had done, and I realized that in the world of research and statistics, if you do a correlation study, it generally doesn't get published unless it's like a big meta study. But when you study cause and effect, there's something about that. So when we're talking about gratitude effect, we're talking about cause and effect. Right. I feel like I'm taking a quote from the Matrix movie. What was that? Matrix #2. But yeah. Cause and that whole thing was like cause and effect, right? That whole like movie.
Yeah.
But that's what we're talking about here. And so we have to understand it more, Beth. So walk us through this.
Yeah. Well, I want to just take a point here. And I had totally forgotten about this when I chose the episode title today and the topic that we were going to dive into. But, I created a planner with a good friend of mine. About 6 years ago, we call it the Inspirement Life Planner. I'm just going to show. This is next year's copy of it. But one of the things when we created this, we call it the Inspirement Life because the word inspire in Latin means to breathe life into. And we wanted a planner that wasn't just about managing time and to-dos, but was about actually helping you breathe life into your dreams and having dreams that breathe life into you. And a big piece of this that we wanted to include in this was gratitude and a practice. And when we created this planner, we created a page for every month that's called a gratitude burst.
Oh, and it's a circle.
It's a circle. And you can put different titles under each segment of it. You can use it however you want to use it, but there's one for every month. And so each month you have an opportunity to really deepen your gratitude practice. Some months I'll come in here and I'll put different names underneath here. And so each month, I'm really focusing on each person in there. Some months it may be different parts of my life. And some months I'll take one and maybe there's a particular area of my life. So maybe it's like health and wellness. And I'll actually make the entire gratitude that month the practice around health and wellness. And so each segment will be different parts of that. So you can really customize it and use it however you want. But the practices that we're going to talk about here today, the 5 practices for deepening your gratitude, are all ways that you can use this tool to help you deepen into it. So I'm putting a little pitch out there for the planner.
No, you should put a pitch out you should put that pitch out there because, those of us that come along the way, we have to learn how to understand gratitude. And, what are some of the things that teach us this? Let's talk about the tools. And I want to mention something. Gratitude is one of the effects. It's both cause and effect, isn't it? I just love it. We could spend a whole hour just talking about the mathematical, statistical equation of cause and effect on gratitude. But it's both. It's both cause and it's both effect. And the thing I love about what you're going to do is you're going to give us some hands-on tools. When I was at my worst, and I've always been a kid that was always optimistic, and there's a part of being an optimist that allows you to have a greater access to gratitude.
Yeah.
Don't fact check me. That's my quote. It can change anything. but it's one of the things that you can fake until you make it. Do you know what I'm saying? So let's talk about it. We can fake it.
Yeah, I want to say one thing there, because you said, optimists tend to have more gratitude.
I made that up right there.
Well, I love that. And I love it. I 100% agree with it. I also do believe that by consciously practicing gratitude, you become more optimistic.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect, exactly.
It cause and effect. It's either it's one or two types of variables, and it's also an outcome. And oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I got off on the whole statistical part of this, Beth. I'm just probably ruining this episode.
No, the nerd in me loves that.
Okay, but I want to talk to people like that, because when we think it is wacko or woo-woo, it is not. It is demonstrated. It is proven. Yeah. And we need to help people. As a matter of fact, I need 1,000 people to participate in this experiment I'm getting ready to do. And I'll talk more about it, but it's around this. I had to learn gratitude in two parts. So I want to hear what the tools that you have are. Let me tell you what the two parts were.
Yeah.
Right before I got clean and sober, it was one of the most difficult times in my life. Mm-hmm. Then I got sober and it became more difficult. Yeah. Right. And I want to just share this for a minute, because gratitude helped me. In 1990, I woke up and I just put it down. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't know. I talk about the alien taking over my body, but I know it was God's spirit, whatever you believe. Yeah. But then my mom dies. My stepmom dies. Mm-hmm. In 91. Then my sister dies. Then I lose my job. By the time it's 91, 92, 93, I'm 3 years into sobriety. And the only thing that kept me from not drinking were the promises, 9-step promises, which are all about gratitude, which are all about being grateful for a future that's yet to come. Yeah. And I'm only bringing it up because today you're going to help people step into an energy that they didn't know that they could have. Yeah. It will save lives. Yeah. Sorry about, I digressed a little bit right there.
I'm grateful for you sharing that, actually, because I think that really does exemplify a big part of what we're talking about here today, and why it's so important, to be able to live that flourishing life. This is something that has to be cultivated. So yeah, I chose 5 different angles to approach gratitude through. These are not the only angles that you can approach gratitude with. There's definitely more than this, but I picked 5 that I think are sometimes ones that we don't always, we sometimes forget to look at. So the first, and actually before we dive into the 5 different angles, I want to preface that part saying that with every single one of these, the gratitude deepener for me is always the why. So I'm grateful for and why. Because it's easy to just say I'm grateful, but why? Why am I grateful? When you can answer the question of why, you're going deeper, and you will feel it differently in the heart space than if you just say I'm grateful for and then just keep going through it, right? The why is a huge deepener. So as we go through each of these different angles or lenses through which you look at gratitude, I really want to encourage people to really go deeper with why. Why is it? So the first one I picked was gratitude for yourself. And I chose that because I truly believe that you can't give what you don't have. And we're not always getting it from the outside world. And if we're not giving something to ourselves first and filling our cup up, we want to be able to give from the overflow. And if we're grateful for certain parts of ourselves, not even just certain parts of ourselves, but if we're actually expanding and looking at all of the different beautiful parts of ourselves that we are grateful for, we turn that energy inward first and fill that cup up so that when we're giving it out to others, it's really coming from this beautiful overflow. So
I find that gratitude for yourself is a great place to start. It may seem selfish, but I think it's self-full.
And may I add, there's a reason people don't do it.
Mm.
It's simple, but it's not always easy.
Right.
It's not. You ever been in a circle of people and, you go around the circle and they ask you, tell me one thing about Beth that you really admire. And you're like 50 million things.
Yeah.
And then the facilitator says, now tell me the same amount of things about yourself. And you are like,
awkward.
Stage. You're
Yeah.
like stage. But how do we do that, Beth? Walk us through how we can get people to start with ourselves first.
Yeah. So, I look at this from a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual lens. And that's kind of how I think about it. So like mentally, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for my brain. I'm grateful for my positive attitude. I am grateful for my ability to look at opportunities where others see obstacles. Like I'm really grateful that I even have that place in my life where I'm able to see that, because there's a whole lot of people out there who aren't living life that way. And so I'm grateful for that. I am grateful for, physically, for my body, for legs that move me every morning, for a heart that is beating and gets stronger and stronger. I am grateful for my, words, which are having a hard time coming out right now. But I'm grateful for, the words and my curiosity, that I am always eternally curious about things, that I always want to understand, not from a need to know, but from just this pure curiosity. And as I turn this energy inward for myself, again, these are the things that I expand in my life. The more curious I am, the more I have to be curious about. And it fills me up, it lights me up. I'm grateful for my compassion. I'm grateful for for my ability to love. So these are ways that, for me, I look at gratitude for myself. How would you do that for you? What are you grateful for, Dr. Pat?
I'll tell you what I do, because I'm one of these people that grew up creating a really hard shell, like a really hard shell around me. Had to protect myself and my emotions until I didn't. But I was given a task that was really simple, because the person I was working with was really simply saying to me, Pat, you're never going to get it. We got to give you something, tell you what to do, and you just need to do it. We don't need you to believe in it. We don't need you to have any emotion. And they said, for 70 days, 70 times a day, I want you to say thank you in whatever you believe in. Thank you, God. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you, Frog. Thank you. Thank you. But you're not thanking the universe for anything in particular. That exercise took the burden off of me, because I couldn't think. When you're going through your first year of addiction, let's just be very clear. You are not grateful for a whole lot. You're really grateful that, oh my God, I made it up this day, went into my crazy job, and I did not drink when everybody went to the big party.
Yeah.
I all went to the big party. And that was given to me. At first, I did it literally. I mean, I honestly had a clicker. You know what a click? Does anybody know what a clicker is?
The clicking 70 times.
Yes. Does anybody know what a clicker? Okay. Yeah. I have an array of those things, because I like to click. I like to tap. So, you're going to find those things around me.
Yeah.
So I clicked. I would click every time I said it or thought it. And I would click till I got to 70, until about day 4 or 5. I didn't need the clicker. And it became natural. I woke up in the morning. I do this today. This is not old. This is a current practice. I wake up and the first thing my brain does is thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit.
Yeah.
See, that's an exercise if you can't do anything else.
It's exactly. And it's habituated now. So
obsession. It's an obsession.
Yeah.
And when I don't do it, my day is so very different. I mean, that's my takeaway. That's how I stop and say, no, I have other things I do, but on the days that I don't do that, I am very crusty.
Time for some crust busting.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yep. I love that. I love that. So that's the first practice, really, is great gratitude for yourself. And remember, and why. Why am I grateful for this? You know, if you heard the things that I was saying about myself that I'm grateful for, I was taking it to the why also. So it's easy to just say I'm grateful for my legs, I'm grateful for my arms, I'm grateful
Yep.
for, but no, you got to go into the why. That ability to turn that in, I think, also is allowing us to become better receivers also, because the first place we have to start receiving from is ourselves, right? Because too many people beat themselves up for stuff. So when you're telling yourself, I'm grateful for this and this is why, you're activating your ability to receive a compliment from yourself.
Yeah. I mean, this is really important and exciting. I want to take a really short break. And when we come back, I want to talk about this in more detail, because what I want to go to is where you go in this, Beth. You go to the before and after. You go to, this is the gratitude effect. So if you have an effect on something, okay, you know what I mean by that? Oh, floor is dirty, wash the floor, look at the floor. Oh my God, it's sparkly. Before, after, cause and effect.
Right.
It is the same energy.
Yeah.
But how you go through that, how you go through cleaning that floor is almost as important as actually cleaning it. And when we come back, Beth is going to tell us why. Let's take a very short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Thank you. All right, we are back having this amazing conversation around the topic of the gratitude and the gratitude effect. So we talked about before break, we were talking about having gratitude for yourself. I also want to then take you to the second lens to look at gratitude through, which is naturally gratitude for others. So you would do the same thing, gratitude for others, and why. Why are you grateful for them? You know, how often do you tell somebody thank you, but you don't actually tell them why you're thankful, and take it deeper. And I will tell you personally, anytime I give gratitude to somebody, I make it a point to say, and this is why. And it's always a different impact. It's always a different effect that the person is getting. So I invite people to really practice that. And one of the things actually that I want to say on that, though, is to also understand what people's love languages are. Are you familiar with the love languages, Dr. Pat? I'm sure you are.
I am familiar the way Pam Bright does love language, but
okay.
I want to hear your version.
Yeah, so the love languages, the traditional 5 love languages, are gifts, words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, or quality time. So being able to give gratitude and thanks in a way that also speaks to the way that people want to receive, I think is really important, because it's not just the gratitude, but it's the way that you're giving it. Sometimes, you know, giving gratitude with that physical touch, with the arm around their shoulder, or by doing something for somebody, is also a way of giving gratitude. Or spending quality time with somebody is a way of expressing your gratitude. So it's not just the words, I'm thankful for you, I'm grateful for this. It is, let me also show you a little bit about why I'm grateful, and in a way that really is meaningful for people. So I just kind of throw that in there from a different angle, in terms of how can you actually take this energy of gratitude and deepen it for people. The third practice for gratitude is, and the third and fourth actually are a little bit of a sandwich. It's gratitude for your day, but gratitude for the beginning of the day and gratitude for at the end of the day. And I do these practices differently. Now, for me, when I do gratitude at the beginning of the day, it's the practice of moving myself into the space of, in my imagination, the day has already happened, and I'm grateful for that which has already happened. So I am grateful, obviously, for the day ahead. But my practice for gratitude in the morning is getting into the imagination as though it's already done. So I can actually amplify that feeling into the practice of visualization, imagination, and creation. And when I do that and I flow that energy into the day, I show up differently with my appointments. I show up differently with my clients. So that might be something like, I'm really grateful for the amazing coaching session that I had with Suzanne today. I'm grateful for the breakthroughs that she had. I am grateful for, the up leveling, and I'm grateful for the way that she's leaned in. Now that's before we've ever had the conversation. But I am putting it out there in terms of it's an expectation, and I'm amplifying it with gratitude and feeling it. And I tell you, ever since I started that practice, uh, all of my sessions with clients, interactions, events, appointments, whatever it is, it's such a flow of intention into it. And we know our energy speaks louder than words. So when you're showing up in these interactions with people, and you're showing up with the energy of the gratitude for it already being done, I think you're in the place of creation at that point. What thoughts on that for you?
Yeah, I think the thoughts that I want to say is, let's talk about the big why with the capital, like a big W,
Yeah.
like the why. Why? Why are we talking about this?
Yeah.
What is the end game?
Mm.
What is it that Beth and I know that we didn't know, that we learned, and then we experimented with it, and then it became contagious?
Yeah.
And why is it that so many indigenous people have been doing this way before we will even reimagine here on Earth?
Yeah.
But what is it? And the very basics of that for survival, if you're at Maslow's law, you're down at the bottom of food and shelter. And even with that, there was gratitude of food, and it's not necessarily the way we talk about it now, but there are these moments of it. And I want to just say two things. It took me a shift. I had to have something happen to me before I could do it.
Mm.
And then before I could believe in it. I was at a point in my life, and I've always been an optimistic kid, but I was at a point in my life where I didn't believe in much. I felt like I had hit a point where everything that I looked at was not through the rose-colored glasses I had before I stopped drinking. It was, I looked and I took when I talk about this, I'm sorry. When you stop drinking, you are taking the red pill in the Matrix. I just want to be clear to people, right? It's the red pill you're taking so you can discover the truth. But for me, I had to do something else because I didn't know how to handle people. And a friend of mine, a very cool calligraphy, it's actually on the wall outside of my office, what she did. And she knew that there was a poem that I really loved. And she took her beautiful handwriting and she put it down. And it's this simple, because this is where I was. This is Leaves of Grass, Walt Whitman. Okay.
Mm.
And I actually have one of the original books. It's like falling apart. But if you read this, there's a lot. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a lot that he says in this thing. If you've never read it, read it. You got to know that somebody like me will read a line that says, love the earth and sun and the animals, despise riches, give aims to everyone that asks, stand up for the stupid and crazy, devote your income and labor to others, hate tyrants, argue not concerning God, have patience and indulgence towards people. Somebody hands me that, I'm reading that first paragraph and saying, I am not reading anymore. But then I read, and I'll tell you, this is the verse that's up on my wall. And it's later in it. And it begins like this. This is not included. Re-examine all you have been told in school or in church or in any book. But this is what's on my wall. Dismiss whatever insults your soul.
Mm.
And your very flesh shall be a great poem and have the richest fluency, not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face, and between the lashes of your eyes, and in every motion and joint of your body. that was given to me first. And when I read that and I understood what it means to dismiss whatever insults your soul, Beth, something gets cleared out.
Yeah.
And if you combine that with the practices you're talking about, what do you think when that gets cleared out, it gets filled with?
Yeah. Well, what you're grateful for grows. So you're filling that space. We know nature pours a vacuum, right? And so when you clear out what's not serving you, what's insulting to the soul, what's energetically out of alignment, what has to come in is where you're putting your focus and attention. And so with gratitude, I mean, if you want more to be grateful for, start being grateful for what you have. And it will grow, and it will grow, and it will grow. Yeah. What was the catalyst for you in that process?
Why did my friend give me this? So I got that before I quit drinking, but that was the first step. It was a way for me to say, I don't understand everything around me now. I don't even understand my life. I don't even understand why I sacrificed my soul to achieve high success in corporate America. I mean, this was what was going on with me before I stopped drinking and using, right?
Yeah.
It was like this confusion, yet at the same time, this beautiful crystal clear clarity. Yeah. My life is not working anymore. I'm in a relationship and I am hurting the person I'm in. My life is not working anymore. I'm doing a job where they want me to absolutely contradict what I believe in. And that was the thing for me, integrity. I went on to study integrity. Nobody had ever studied integrity.
Wow.
But it was that thing where I was asking myself, it was self-exploration. So when the dismiss whatever insults your soul got put in my hand, I'm like, I'm dismissing you, AT&T. I'm dismissing you, like my dad. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One line allowed me to say, I'm going to dismiss whatever insults my soul. So what's the problem? The problem is you have to get really clear on whether or not that really insults your soul or your ego is showing up and saying, hello, the little feelings are hurt. But the catalyst for me was my life was a mess.
Yeah. Yep.
Like a bottom, like you hit a bottom. But on the surface, I had the big car. I had the fancy car.
Yeah.
4,000 square foot, 6.7 acres, big executive job, making a lot of money. So to friends and family, it's like, stop your complaining, girl.
Yeah.
You got everything. And I felt lonely. I felt sad, confused, sick.
Well, and this is so much part of, again, why this topic here is about the Flourish frequency is because, some people would look at that and say, well, you weren't grateful for the things you had. But the reality is again, it was a soul decision, right? The soul is the one that gets to decide what you really, truly desire. And your heart desires it, not the head. And when you're grateful for that, then you can look at everything you had and be grateful for that and know that there's actually more for you, more that's actually in alignment for you. That integrity is so important, right? And it's not integrity, like what's in integrity for one person is not what's in integrity for another. You've got to follow what's in integrity for you.
I had to define it. I defined it in my research. I ended up doing this research and everybody that was on my committee is like, oh, you got to do more of this, or you got to do more of this, or you can't use the word integrity, you got to define it. And I go, look, and there was only one book at the time ever written on integrity and it didn't define it. So I asked people.
Yeah.
And they came back, and we'll do this on another show. And they came back and they gave me 5 different points that must be accomplished if you're going to use the word integrity. And I have 1,200 pages of notes in this, but here's the thing I want to say. You're asking me a really good question. You know what I'm grateful for about this time in my life? I had some great mentors.
Yeah.
While I was going through crazy town, which was in my head, I had a mentor called Mary Louise Smith. Mary Louise Smith. Chain smoker, beautiful lipsticks, great nails, beautiful black woman, glasses, never left her chair. And this is what got me, this was the catalyst to begin me to think. Anytime I walked into a room and I opened my mouth and I said something or I complained or whatever it was, she would go do one of these things. Like, you remember, those things like that.
Yeah.
I can't even do it. And she'd point her cigarette at me and she'd say, take your blah, 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 turn around and take your blah, blah, blah right back out of the room and come back in. And then you have to answer this question. What part of the problem are you? Every time. I worked for her for like 18 months, every time, every meeting, it didn't matter.
Wow.
And then I learned the power of that.
Yeah. Talk about perspective shift.
But let me tell you what she did with it.
Yeah.
She talked about the things that I was talking about that seemed a little bit not so good. And she said to me, you ought to be grateful for your sense of being able to pick drug addicts out of your staff. I said, okay. She always ended up by telling me, that's part of the problem you are, but you're not the problem, Pat. It's very different. And by being grateful for the discovery of that, I don't know why we're not doing more of that.
Yeah.
It's harsh. I don't even do it to my folks, but I am going to start a version of it.
Yeah.
How about you? What got you? Like, I'm sure you didn't end up in the streets looking for your Harley Davidson like I did, but what was it for you?
No, I did not. That sounds like a whole other
that's a great show. That's
There's a whole episode
story.
There.
Yeah.
We're coming back to that one. No, and I'm going to jump ahead here because to the fifth point, but let me just I'm going to tap on real quickly. We talked about being grateful for the day ahead of you in the morning, grateful for at night, grateful for the day you just had. Before you go into dreamland, putting yourself in the frequency of gratitude sets you up for an amazing night of sleep, sets you up for your imagination to go to work on getting you more of what you're grateful for. So I just want to put that on there because I think that for me is the sandwich. In the morning, setting up the day for what I want to have happen as though it's already happened and being grateful for that. And at night, being grateful for the day that just passed and everything that just happened in it. And part of that taps into the fifth angle or fifth lens to look at gratitude for. And this really goes to what you were just asking me about. Being grateful for the hard lessons learned, being grateful for the things that were not it didn't look so good at the time, didn't feel so good at the time.
Yeah.
But being grateful for them because I can look back at the catalyst. For me, it was burnout. I had completely hit a wall of burnout and I was being forced by my body to walk away. If I didn't do something different, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today if I had not done some things differently because I was out of integrity with myself. Just like we were just talking, I wasn't following my soul. I wasn't doing things that lit me up anymore. And I was just putting my head in the ground and working harder. And which I don't mind hard work. I enjoy hard work when I'm doing something I'm passionate about. That feels completely different. It doesn't feel hard in the first place. And it actually gives me more energy than drains my energy. And my life at the time was draining my energy, literally draining the life force energy out of me. And so being grateful for that at the time, I wasn't grateful. I was because I was miserable at the time. But it was in the practice of becoming grateful for the chance to have another chance. The chance to actually being grateful for the fact that I did have money that I could walk away from that job. Being grateful that I did have family and friends in my life, that loved me and supported me. And even though this sounded like a really wild decision, what, you're walking away with nothing to go to?
Yeah.
Being grateful for the health uh, issues cropping up when they did, to get my attention so that I could do something different, so I could start showing up differently, so I could start treating my body differently, so I could start treating my soul differently. You know, being grateful for that and becoming grateful over time. Now I can look back on that and be like incredibly grateful at this place. That part's the easy part. It was the process of becoming grateful, even when it wasn't looking so good, that was actually the key to changing it all. Because if I had just wallowed in it, if I had become resentful, and yeah, exactly. I mean, I would never have gotten out of it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't be in a place now to look back on it and go, oh, I had no clue at the time how much I was actually missing out on.
Yeah. Gratitude is the jackhammer you need to destroy resentment.
Oh, I love that. That's a clip.
Gratitude. Let me be really clear with everybody here. We're talking about the effect of gratitude.
Mhm.
Think of a giant jackhammer. You know what that is? Like I'm in New York City. Jackhammer.
Yeah.
Gratitude is your superpower jackhammer
Yeah.
that will destroy resentment in less than a second.
Yep. 100%.
No power quite like that I know of.
Yeah.
The other alternative is power and prayer.
Yeah.
But prayer for the sake of prayer, and I'm being very generic, but prayer for the sake of prayer, mantras, prayer, all of that, whatever you're doing. You know, if you're a Buddhist, there's certain things you do, you chant. But doing that without an essence, a halo, an aura of give it a little bit of gratitude.
Yeah.
But don't you find that to be true? I mean, didn't you find that for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, in fact, it's funny you bring up prayer because, you know, for me, when somebody introduced me to the difference between prayer and affirmative prayer, you know, it goes back to the same topic I was talking about, being grateful for the day ahead as though it's already happened. It's light years different. You know, my old type of prayer used to be praying to get saved, like praying for things to get better, praying for this, instead of praying as though it's already happened, being grateful for the fact that it's already happened, that it's done.
I know.
It's night and day.
I think part two of this has got to be talking about some of these, you know, practices. I mean, we don't call them all prayer, you know, whether it's chanting, because you nailed it. So what do we mean by affirmative prayer? So I don't know if y'all can see this little scratchy piece of paper there. You see it? It's just a piece of paper that I cut out of a book from Joel Osteen. And it very simply is, I didn't count them. There's got to be like 20 or 30 affirmative I ams here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't do anything else. Really, I have days where gratitude, really, I'm going to kick you in the butt. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I pull this out and I just read it. See, Beth, let me ask you this. You work with people. You help highly successful people create harmony, blessings, whatever they want to create in their lives. You see this every day. You know what works. This is so important that people know you do this, because if they're like me or like I was, you can't do it alone. I am not here because I did this alone. So I want you to talk for a minute on how you help people get to that state where they can use this as a tool.
Yeah. Well, you know, in my one-on-one coaching, we always start with what the vision is in the first place. You've got to be able to get there. And it usually starts when somebody first comes to me, they're usually in that place where they're focusing on what they don't want instead of what they do want. Like they know what they don't want, right? Like, I don't want to feel unhealthy. I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be in a job that I hate doing. And again, you can see there's no gratitude in there, because you can't be in gratitude and be in lack at the same time. Like, you just can't. It's, if you're grateful for even when you don't have something. So that's usually the first place we have to start, is to really help them paint a vision of what they do want, which means being grateful for the contrast that actually gives you the clarity. So what is it that's the opposite of all that? So I start with people in that space and really finding out and
Mm,
painting and creating the vision with them. I mean, it's their vision, but
mm,
sometimes it just needs a little bit drawing out, and we start there. And gratitude is something from the very beginning that we instill. Because again, it's like you have to create that foundation. And I've said this in many of our episodes here, you can't have more on a foundation of not enough. You just can't. The only thing you're going to get more of is not enoughness. If you're in the space of not enough, because just by the law of abundance, you will get more, but you're getting more of not enough. So it's an oxymoron, if you will. And
You know,
yeah, so that's always the first place to start. And gratitude is is a foundation from the very beginning, with that. And whether I'm doing group coaching or one-on-one coaching, gratitude is, again, it's something that is built into the practices. The affirmative prayers are built in from the very beginning. And so it's really starting to create from the inside out, because that's what we do, right? Nothing outside of you is your source.
yeah,
You're the
yeah,
source and you are one with source. And so how can you not be grateful when you really understand that?
yeah. I mean, thank you for doing the show. Thank you for calling it the gratitude effect. I want to just say this to you, Beth. Sometimes we think, I cannot go back and thank them. I cannot go here and thank them. I cannot do that and thank them. Oh my God, that I'm writing a letter, which my assistant tells me shouldn't be a letter, it should be a post, to Bob Dylan.
Mm,
And I'm writing a letter to Bob Dylan, who, by the way, got a Nobel Prize for literature for his work. But
yeah.
I'm writing him a letter because it's because of him and his music at that time that I actually graduated summer school. I couldn't
Wow.
read and I couldn't write. And
Wow.
he wrote some of the most poetic music. And later on, like in 65 or something, he wrote Positively Fourth Street.
Mm,
And it represented how angry I was, kind of. And I couldn't read, and we had to read a poem. So I faked it. I brought the thing in like this. Like I got like, yeah, right. You're like this here, right? You got your book open and you're like pretending you're reading. Because I'm able to memorize every word of every song.
mm.
And I remember starting out by saying, the line, and I looked at the class and I looked at my faculty member and I said, "You've got a lot of nerve." That's the beginning line.
Wow.
It's never too late to go back.
Never. Never. There's never a time where gratitude is um not appropriate. There's never a place where it's not appropriate.
But they have to do your practice. You see, if we do the practice, which this came up from doing your practice, what are you grateful for?
Yeah.
So, Beth, please make this personal statement to end the show. This is not something you can control. I didn't know the other day when I did my before and after, Bob Dylan was going to pop into my consciousness, but I know why he did. Because they're making a movie of him and he's walking down by Cafe Wa, which I used to sneak into with fake ID when I was very young. But what's your personal message and
Yeah.
how can we work with you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, on this last topic in particular, I just want to reemphasize gratitude is something that um, gratitude shifts your mindset, it shifts your heart, and empowers you to embrace opportunities. And it has you showing up in life in a very different way. So whether it's gratitude for yourself, the people in your life, the day ahead, the day you've just experienced, or even your hardest lessons, each of these practices here today that we've introduced you to, they have the power to shift your energy and to open the door to abundance of what you do want more of in your life. So this is a starting point. And a bonus lens to look through is really just being grateful for the simple things, being grateful for nature, being grateful for the universe, being grateful for all of that. That's a bonus one that I would look at.
Mm.
As far as working together, I am so grateful for the amazing people who find their way to me. And if there's somebody out there listening and this is actually really speaking to you and you want to go deeper, you can find me on my website at BethLarsenCoaching.com. That's Larsen with an E, Larsen. And the Inspirement Life Planner that I spoke about earlier, this is this year's copy. We'll put up the link for that. Those are available as well right now. The 2025 version is available. And those gratitude bursts in there can help you really deepen that practice for yourself in every area of your life.
But thank you so much for today. Emily, thank you for today. And we may do a show called Who Moved My Harley Davidson?
I feel like I really need to know that story now.
but really, it's a great topic for a show. We could talk about that more. Beth, thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you for all you're doing. I love doing this show with you. I love preparing for it because when I prepare for it, it helps me flourish better. Thank you.
Thank you. That makes my heart happy.
Wow. Thank you all. Please.
Yep.
You heard a lot here. Pick something. If you think 70 is too many, do 7. Doesn't matter. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Flourish Frequency Show with me, Beth Larsen. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and are leaving with a heart full of inspiration and a mind buzzing with the possibilities of more. Tune in every third Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more frequency boosting conversations. And if you want more help getting into your Flourish flow and stepping into the possibilities of more, you can find me at BethLarsenCoaching.com. That's BethLarsenCoaching.com, Larsen with an E.